Don't ask her. She's the damn one. My dad laughed across the dinner table. My brother smirked. Yeah, stick to coloring books. I forced a smile. You're really doing this again. They had no idea what was coming. My name is Brianna, and I'm 36 years old. Growing up, I was always compared to my older brother, Derek, the one they never stopped praising. He was varsity sports, honor roll, business major. The kind of son parents brag about at barbecues and church functions. I was different. I struggled in traditional school. Numbers on a whiteboard didn't stick. Teachers would talk and I'd zone out. Not because I didn't care, but because my brain didn't work that way. But give me a computer and a problem to solve. I could sit for hours. I'd lose track of time building things, breaking things, figuring out how systems talk to each other. My parents didn't see that as talent. They saw it as wasting time. You're always online, my mom would sigh, like the screen was rotting my future. I ended up skipping college and working freelance tech jobs quietly. Small contracts, odd projects, enough to pay rent, but not enough to impress anyone at Thanksgiving. They told relatives I was still figuring life out. At family gatherings, I was the punchline, the one they shook their heads about when they thought I wasn't listening. I wasn't rich or glamorous. I didn't have a degree on the wall or a title on a business card. But I had something they didn't expect. I had a skill they never bothered to understand. And while they laughed at me for not fitting their mold, I was building something they couldn't even imagine. If you've ever been labeled the slow one or the one who wouldn't succeed, I see you. Subscribe if you've had to prove people wrong. In silence, tell me, were you underestimated too? Click hype if you're building something no one believes in yet. It was my dad's 62nd birthday. The whole family packed into a steakhouse downtown, the kind of place with leather booths and dim lighting where the smell of charred meat and expensive cologne hung heavy in the air. There were about 20 of us squeezed around a long table. Candles flickering, glasses clinking, everyone dressed up like it was a ceremony. The conversation turned to careers the way it always did. Derek leaned back in his chair and announced he was applying to business school, an MBA program at a top university. The table erupted. My aunt clapped. My dad reached across and gripped his shoulder like he'd just won an award. That's my boy, he said. I sat there cutting my steak into small pieces, saying nothing. Then my Aunt Carol turned to me with that tilted-head smile people give when they're about to be condescending. And what are you doing these days, Brianna? Before I could open my mouth, my dad jumped in. Oh, she's still playing on the computer. Laughter rippled down the table like a wave. I set my fork down. I run a software startup. The laughter didn't stop. It just shifted into something more dismissive. My mom rolled her eyes from across the table. Sweetie, making little websites and a company. Derek grinned without looking at me. Let the adults talk finance. The sting was sharp, not because it was new, but because it never got old for them. They recycled the same joke year after year and never got tired of it. Then my dad raised his glass. The whole table followed. To the son who'll actually make us proud. 20 glasses went up. Mine stayed on the table. I didn't toast. I didn't argue. I reached into my lap and checked my phone under the table. One new email. The subject line read, acquisition confirmed. Final terms enclosed. I locked my phone and slipped it back into my pocket. I didn't say a single word. The next morning, the financial news broke the story. A major tech firm had acquired my company, a cybersecurity platform I had built from nothing for $50 million. The family group chat exploded before I even finished my coffee. Notification after notification buzzing against the kitchen counter like an alarm that wouldn't stop. But the messages weren't apologies. Not even close. My mom texted first. Why didn't you tell us? I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed back 3 words. I tried. No response for 11 minutes. Then Derek chimed in. Must have been luck. I read that message twice. I let it sit. I didn't reply. Within 48 hours, the narrative started shifting. My dad called my Uncle Ray and told him we always supported her coding hobby. We knew she had something. When my uncle mentioned it to me at a gas station a few days later, I felt my stomach twist. I called my dad that night. The house was quiet on his end. I could hear the television murmuring in the background. Some game show with bells and buzzers. You told Uncle Ray you supported me, I said. He cleared his throat. Well, we did. You called me dumb, Dad, at your own birthday dinner. In front of everyone. He paused. We were motivating you. I closed my eyes and pressed the phone harder. Against my ear, motivating. That was the word he chose. It didn't take long for the money talk to start. My mom called the following week and mentioned how expensive the house repairs were getting. She dropped phrases like family should help family and we sacrificed so much for you. I reminded her calmly that I had paid my own rent since I was 19, that I had eaten ramen for 3 years straight while building my platform, that not once did anyone in this family offer me $1 or a kind word. She went quiet. Then she said, "You've always been so sensitive." A week after that, Derek called. He had a startup idea. Something about a wellness app. He needed capital. I figured since you just came into all that money, you could invest. I leaned against my kitchen counter. Send me a business plan. He laughed. Come on, Bree, you don't trust me? Send me a business plan, Derek. He hung up. For the first time in my life, I didn't fold. I didn't apologize. I didn't soften my voice to make someone else comfortable. I spoke calmly. I set boundaries. And I refused to carry their guilt. Their arrogance grew because they assumed I'd eventually bend. I always had before. But that version of me was gone. What they didn't know was that my company wasn't just little websites. I had built a cybersecurity platform used by mid-sized hospitals across 4 states. It protected patient records, flagged breaches, and ran silent audits that most IT departments couldn't handle on their own. I coded most of it myself, alone, in my apartment at 2 in the morning, with nothing but cold coffee and the hum of the refrigerator keeping me company. The blue glow of the monitor was my office lamp. The click of the keyboard was my soundtrack. I had a plan they never saw coming. Keep everything quiet until it was done. No announcements, no bragging, no seeking permission from people who wouldn't understand the work anyway. I documented every mockery-filled text, every group chat joke, every holiday comment about me being slow. Not for revenge. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. I wanted a record so that when the day came, I could look at it all and remind myself that I didn't imagine it. I never needed their validation. The acquisition wasn't luck. It was 4 years of contracts, growth metrics, investor calls, sleepless nights, and a demo I rehearsed 47 times before walking into a boardroom full of people who actually listened. I structured the deal so I stayed on as lead consultant, with equity and creative control. The $50 million check wasn't just money. It was proof. And I knew exactly when I'd choose to show them what they missed. The one person who never doubted me was Elaine Novak. She was a seasoned tech CEO who had built and sold to companies before she was 50. I met her when I was 24, freelancing out of a coffee shop with a laptop that overheated every 2 hours. She sat down across from me one afternoon because the shop was full, and she noticed my screen. "Is that a firewall prototype?" she asked. I looked up, startled. "Yeah, it's rough," she smiled. Rough is where everything good starts. From that day forward, she became my mentor. Not in a formal way, no contracts or schedules. She just checked in. She reviewed my work. She told me the truth when my ideas were weak and pushed me forward when they were strong. She once said something I never forgot. "Let your results speak, Brianna, not your anger." After the acquisition, I called her from my car in the hospital parking lot where I'd pulled over because my hands were shaking. "They want to claim it now," I told her. "They want to pretend they helped." Elaine's voice was calm. "Set boundaries early. Success attracts entitlement." Meanwhile, My parents began planning their big 40th wedding anniversary party. They invited extended family, co-workers, neighbors, and they subtly mentioned in the invitations that they'd also be celebrating our daughter's recent success. They were going to use my name to shine. Derek assumed he'd announce a joint venture with me at the party. He even told cousins we were partnering up. Nobody asked me. They acted like they had already won. When I told Elaine, she didn't hesitate. "I'll come with you," she said. "If they want a stage, give them one." The night of the party, I could feel it in the air, tension humming just beneath the surface. Like the vibration of a bass speaker you can't see but feel in your chest. Relatives whispered, eyes followed me. My family expected me to fund their image, to smile and play along and let them rewrite history one more time. They had no idea how this night would unfold. The anniversary party was held at a rented hall with string lights and round tables draped in white cloth. There were maybe 60 people. The smell of catered food and cheap cologne filled every corner. A DJ played soft music in the background. My parents stood at the front table like royalty, greeting guests, accepting compliments. Halfway through dinner, my dad grabbed the microphone. He tapped it twice. That hollow thud echoing across the room, and cleared his throat. "We always knew Brianna would do something," he said, pausing for effect. Eventually, light laughter scattered across the room. He smiled like it was charming. Then he gestured for Derek to stand. Derek buttoned his jacket and walked up beside him. My dad put his arm around Derek's shoulder and said, "The kids are thinking about partnering up. Big things ahead for the Call family." I set my napkin on the table. I stood. The chair legs scraped against the floor and the sound cut through the murmur of conversation. I walked to the front of the room slowly, and every step felt deliberate. "Actually," I said clearly, "we're not." The laughter stopped. Silence rolled through the hall like a cold wind. I reached for the microphone. My dad hesitated, then let go. I held it steady. For years, I was the dumb one at this table. The room didn't move. "Don't ask her," I said. "Stick to coloring books." I looked directly at my dad, and then at Derek. Those are direct quotes. Murmurs rippled across the tables. My mom stood halfway out of her chair. "We were joking, Brianna." I turned to her. "Jokes don't last 15 years, Mom." Elaine stepped forward from her seat near the back. She introduced herself calmly. Her voice carried the weight of someone who had earned her authority. She confirmed the scale of the acquisition, the contracts, the clients, and my leadership role in every phase of development. Then I spoke again. "I built this without family money, without family support, without a single person in this room telling me I could." I paused and let the silence hold. "So, tonight I'm announcing something that actually matters." I told them about the STEM scholarship fund I had created. A program designed specifically for girls who were labeled not smart enough, girls who learned differently, girls who heard "stick to coloring books" and believed it for too long. Applause erupted from the guests, real applause, not polite clapping. Some people stood. My brother stood frozen near the front table, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the back of a chair. My dad's face had gone pale. His eyes were fixed on the floor. Their attempt to claim my success and ride it like a parade float had collapsed. In front of everyone they wanted to impress, for the first time, they weren't the ones judging. They were the ones being judged. After the last guest left, and the hall emptied out, my parents found me near the coat rack by the door. The string lights were still glowing. The caterers were packing trays in the back. The faint smell of vanilla cake lingered in the air. My mom spoke first. "Can we talk?" I didn't walk away. I stood there and I listened. But I didn't shrink. Not this time. My dad rubbed the back of his neck and said, "We didn't realize how much it affected you." I looked at him. "Yes, you did. You just didn't care enough to stop." He didn't argue. I made it clear right there, standing under the flickering lights of that rented hall. Respect comes first. No more jokes at my expense. No more rewriting history to make themselves look good. No more pretending they built what I built. If they wanted me in their lives, it would be on honest terms. My brother stopped asking for money after that night. He never sent a business plan. We don't talk much, but when we do, there's a different weight to it. Something quieter, something closer to real. I focused on scaling my consulting role and expanding the scholarship. The first class of recipients started that fall, 12 girls from underfunded schools who reminded me of myself. The label they gave me doesn't fit anymore. It never did. I wasn't the dumb one. I was just building quietly, and sometimes the quiet ones shock everyone. Were you ever labeled not smart enough or compared to a sibling who got all the praise? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to hear how you handled it. Subscribe if you've been underestimated and came back stronger. Click hype to help this story reach others who need it. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and click hype to help it reach more people who need to hear it. Your voice matters in our community. Share your own experience in the comments below. I'm reading.